So, if you know me, you know that I love to tell stories. I think stories are like the lifeblood of the human existence. I believe that stories connect us, they make us laugh, they make us cry, they give us information. Literally, one of the first forms of communication before we were even able to speak was the ability to tell a story. For example, if you're a caveman running around Neanderthal and you see a woolly mammoth, you're going to run to your people and tell them the story of the woolly mammoth, not only because it was cool to see, but it also may save their life in the future. So stories have always had a critical role in our human existence. So I've always been the type to tell stories, even as a little kid. I remember back in like 4th or 5th grade, I actually wrote a series called The Nuclear Nine, and it featured all my friends in 4th grade. We all had different powers. It wasn't a very good story, but it was my first real experience in storytelling and doing it in a way that I felt was fun and genuine. Another big love and passion for me is superhero stories. So people who come across special abilities, special talents, and they use those talents for good or evil as they try to navigate a brand new world. Whether it's Marvel, DC, anything. I love comics. I love superhero stories. I love superhero movies. I think the MCU is actually one of the coolest and best things to happen in entertainment history. I think the numbers prove that. No, it has its flaws, and not everything's perfect, of course, but the MCU and the way they told their stories and they interconnected these different stories together has always blew my mind. I'm also a big fan of stories like Lost, Heroes, things that make the viewer or the reader fall into the universe and become connected with these characters in ways that, you really can't do with other stories. And so this passion has always been deep down inside of me. So flash forward to now, it's 2024, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and launch this superhero multimedia universe I've been working on for a while now. Now, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have big budgets, so I had to go ahead and scratch a couple of options out in terms of, making a film or a TV series. And I tried to look at the best way to digest things passively or in a way that allows the viewer, listener, reader to really connect. And so I decided to create this multimedia universe called the Parallaxers. And the way that it works, it's actually an audiobook series, ebook series, and episodic audio on podcasts. And we're looking to expand this universe as much as possible, but we're starting off with this first, and it's launching now. You can go check it out at theparallaxers.com or the YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the comments below. You can go check it out. The first 3 episodes are up, but I really wanted to talk about the process and how I came to create the Parallaxers, the reasons behind it, the themes, some of the things that I did. I did use AI a lot in a lot of this. That might make some of you mad, but it is what it is. I think AI is the future. I made a whole video about that. You can go watch that. But I used AI. I created this entirely by myself. And yeah, I want to go ahead and tell you about the Parallaxers. So let's get into it. So first, we're going to talk about the concept of Parallaxers. The Parallaxers actually focuses on an event called the Parallax event. And what happens is that the entire world is consumed in shadows for 4 minutes and 13 seconds. During that time, a bunch of chaos happens, planes crash and all kinds of stuff. But then all of a sudden, a big bright flash of light shines across the entire planet, removing all the shadows. But as a result, over 80,000 people now have special abilities and powers around the world. So the Parallaxers is actually told in short story format. We have a character known as the narrator who also has abilities. His ability is actually the ability to tell these Parallaxer stories. And so he's now chronicling these stories and telling them to the public so people can be more aware of the Parallaxers. So the narrator introduces these characters. Each of these characters have been affected by the Parallax event in one way or another. And seemingly at first, these stories are random. Some of the stories are connected in cool ways, but for the most part, they seem like random stories throughout the Parallax event. But as you read on, you start to see the web start to connect and the story gets deeper and deeper. So the story focuses on a lot of different themes, including trauma manifesting powers, mental health, the government versus freedom, there's all these themes that are woven into each of these stories, morality, things like that, to make you think as a reader or listener, kind of like a what would you do situation. But also some of these stories are just random encounters that happen in the Parallax universe. When it comes to inspiration, I'm a big fan of the show Heroes. Yes, I know season 2 and on was terrible, but season 1 was incredible. And it taught me how to tell stories from multiple perspectives and bounce them around and connect them together. So shows like Heroes, Lost, Stranger Things, these ensemble casts that have different weights and different gravity to the story that come together that kind of make it flow. That's what I'm all about. Also, one of my big inspirations for the Parallaxers is the Marvel New Universe. Now, you might be too young if you're watching this, if you're, maybe under the age of 30, but the Marvel New Universe is actually a series of stories that were released in the mid-80s, kind of like a spin-off from the original Marvel Universe, and it focused on something called the White Event. The White Event was basically a device, a star thing that was, once you touch it or remove it, you get the powers known as the Star Brand. But when you remove it or when you grab it or pick it up, it creates a flash of light. And basically that flash of light gave a bunch of people different powers. And there's characters like Justice, Star Brand. It's actually a really cool series and I grew up on it. I read most of the New Universe series. They rebooted it a couple times, but nothing hits like the original for me. But when they got rid of it, I was like, man, I really wish I could do the New Universe in my own way. Like, how would I go about doing it? So taking inspiration from some of my favorite stories and putting them in a way that makes the most sense to me and putting them out there was basically what the Parallaxers is all about. But there's a lot more to it too when it comes to the setup of this story. So I'm actually a musician, and some of you may not know this, but I actually rap. I actually used to rap under the alias Black One. I go by my name, Jaron Ikner now. You can find my music somewhere. Maybe I post a link. That's not why we're here. But while I was promoting myself as Black One, I created something known as the Black One Multiverse, which are these different characters, different versions of me, multiverse versions of me that had different rapping styles, different vibes, different stories attached to them. And at first, when I created this, I was like, this is just a marketing tool designed to kind of, get myself out there in different ways. I actually hopped on Reddit when Reddit was very popular. Reddit gets drawn and had people draw my face. And I had hundreds of people draw my face, which kind of sparked this idea because I used the different pictures as inspiration and marketing for the different projects. So there's characters like Bleezy Dangerfield, Ben Cloak. There's also Jaron Ikner, of course, Black One, several different characters that existed. But then at some point I decided I didn't want to take this to a different level beyond just the characters. And that's when I wrote my first novella called Rosemont. So Rosemont focused on a character who was a different multiverse version of Jaron, myself, who had the ability of synesthesia, seeing sounds. He was also a rapper as well. And it turned out that over the course of the story, his powers evolved into something greater. You can go read Rosemont on Amazon right now. It's available if you want to go check it out. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the point is that was the first time that I launched an interactive experience. So when Rosemont dropped, you could go to the website and click on the different links, and the main character, Jay, actually had a pair of headphones. And when you put on the headphones, there's a link and you click on it and they have my music on it as well. There's also artwork, videos, all kinds of fun stuff. And it was the first time that I really did a multimedia experience. And I'm like, this is how I'm going to tell my stories from here on out. I have to always be hitting from different angles. It's just how I work now from here on out. So after Rosemont, I had the Black One Multiverse and I had these rich characters that I created. And I decided that I wanted to start tying them together and create this whole story where one of the characters is evil and he's trying to kill the other multiverse characters. And the original version, Jaron, the person who created this universe to begin with, is the cause of all this because he fractured the dimensions. And there's this whole story that I created that I told over the course of 7 years, actually. And it got to the point where we reached the story Parallax. Parallax is actually available on Amazon. It might be available on my website too, jaronikner.life. If not, maybe I'll put it up there. But the point is with Parallax, it kind of was the conclusion, the Black One Multiverse, where, you had this grand endgame-ish MCU type battle that happens with members of my rap affiliates called Starstruck. They were also in the story, versus Dark Sun and myself and whoever, and we all clash. And at the end of the story, spoilers, me realizing that I'm the creator of all this, I decided to go ahead and merge all the personalities and dimensions together and basically smash them all together. So when this happens, and this is where, the Parallaxers begins, it creates the parallax event. So the parallax event is essentially what I described earlier, but it was caused by my actions from the Black Widow multiverse. And the whole purpose of this, from strategic point, is that I wanted to, reset the Black Widow multiverse and not make it so much about my character. Now, my character is featured in the story to a degree, but he's definitely not the main character of the story, but he is important. And I wanted to do something where I can launch this new universe and have these characters and basically spin it off into wherever I want to do. If I want to do a superhero universe, let's do it, et cetera, so forth. And the Parallax event and Parallaxers is basically the launching point of this new universe that is now called the Parallaxer universe, which is funded by Starstruck Multimedia, which is my company. So also known as the Starstruck Multimedia universe. Starstruck Multimedia universe is the company, and then the Parallaxer universe is the universe that we're creating. So now I want to talk about the writing process a little bit and how I actually came about doing this. And as I said earlier, I did use AI. And I know some of you guys are thinking, oh, he just used AI to generate all the stories. And it's like, no, actually it was a lot more than that. And basically, I've been working on this story for about 4 years now. I have several different versions of it on my computer, different side stories. I have a couple of spin-offs. I have all these things, all these ideas that are just kind of up in the air. And I was like, it's going to kind of take me a while to kind of buckle this all down and get this to a point where I can actually operate and put it out there. But then, AI came along. And in particular, the AI that I'm using the most, and this is not an ad, we're not sponsored by them or anything. I mean, I wish it should be nice, but I use Claude. And the reason why I choose Claude is because Claude has their projects feature. So with their projects feature, you can take all your notes, you can make notes, you can do whatever you want, upload PDFs, Excel sheets, whatever, into a folder and create a project around it. So when you go to that project and you start writing, Claude will refer to that data and allow you to continue to write whatever you're writing based off the data that's in there. This is a game changer for me. This completely changed everything for me, because basically what I did was that I tossed all my stories. I went through my computer and found every single story. We're talking about maybe 25 stories that I've written over the last several years. And I threw it all into Claude. And I said, Claude, all right, this is what I'm trying to do. And I wrote the concepts of every story that I was thinking about, the powers in terms of some of the beats that I wanted. And I put it all in there. And I'm like, let's make this story together. Help me write this story based off of what we're trying to do. So Claude would generate some stories. I'd be like, I want to change some of the dialogue, or I'll add dialogue beats, or I make sure that the story ended here, et cetera, so forth. And it became more of a collaborative process, because I would take the story, throw it back into my documents, rework some things, put it back into Claude. And then eventually it got to the point where I wasn't really asking Claude to write the story anymore, but more so kind of give me feedback on it. Like, how would you approach this? Or does this make sense in terms of logic? And things like that, to make sure that we were creating a universe that made sense, but still had a bit of mystery and it still had a bit of intrigue behind it. And I really think that the collaborative process with this software basically just changed everything, because not only did I use it for that, I used it for coding, for some other things that I'll talk about a little bit later. I used it to help me generate image prompts, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And I used it in such a way that it was almost like literally a collaborator / co-producer on this project. And, so with the help of Claude, I was able to basically create these narrative threads where we had these short stories, but there's a through line where we can do callbacks to different characters or situations or events to create this whole cohesive universe, and allow me to kind of stay on track, because my brain's all over the place. I have so many projects going on in my life at any given point in time. And so having this to be like, all right, cool, where are we at right now in this story? And where are we trying to go with it? And Claude being like, well, we left off here, boom, 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 boom. All right, cool, let's keep it going. It's amazing. It's a game changer for me. And like I said, you guys might be anti-AI. I know some people out there don't mess with it, but it's all about using it as a tool and not a crutch. And that's exactly what happened with this. So the ultimate goal was to make sure we built these interconnected plots while kind of moving towards a larger story. And in terms of the format, there's different versions of the story kind of depending on what you or how you consume it. So in the ebook, it's volume 1 and 2 in one go, written front to back. And it includes an epilogue that has some bonus content in there and some fun stuff that I'll talk about a little bit later. But if you just go ahead and buy the ebook, you get the entire story. You can read it on your phone. You're good to go. But the podcast episodes will be dropping every week on Spotify and Apple. So if you're more like an episodic, you want to know what happens later and kind of have a week to kind of simmer on it, you can check out the podcast series. But we're also launching it on YouTube. So on YouTube, we have the visual versions of this where we add pictures, cool effects on the background, et cetera, so forth, to make it an enjoyable experience while you listen to these stories. And what does this mean for the future? Will the Parallaxers always be in a podcast or audiobook form? Well, hopefully not. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. This becomes wildly successful. 10 years from now, we're doing the Parallaxer TV series on Netflix, or we have one of the characters having a movie release. But right now I'm trying to do this in the most cost-effective and easy way for me to maintain, because I'm doing this all by myself in terms of organizing it and putting it all together with me and Claude. But the whole point of this is to make sure that we launch this universe and get these stories out there, and people, when they gravitate towards it, will hopefully help us get this going to a level that makes this the most enjoyable way possible for whoever's consuming it. And that's another part of it that I really want to talk about, and that's the marketing of it. So I'm decent at marketing. I do marketing for a living for a couple different companies when it comes to social media content, et cetera, so forth. But I wanted to make sure that I try to do things that were kind of a homage to the things that I really love, but then also still kind of fresh. So there's a couple of cool tidbits and couple of secrets that will probably be rolling out down the line that you should definitely check out and keep an eye out for if you're sneaky or if you're paying attention. I would say if you want to find some of the first clues, you should definitely get the ebook that's on Amazon right now, because the epilogue definitely has something in there that will be useful later on down the line. And ultimately, I just want to be able to tell these stories in a way that feels genuine, that feels true to what I do, which is storytell, and it's fun. I've been having a blast creating these characters and creating these stories. So let's talk about some of the things that I learned in this process. So I guess the lessons and things like that. One is organization. It's critical when you're trying to keep track of all these different characters and where they're at. AI is very helpful with that because, like I said, with the project features in Claude, I kind of have all my notes in there, and I try to update my notes. So then that way Claude's like, remember this, remember that. But Claude's not perfect. It's still, it's not like the ultimate software quite yet. There's still flaws and it still forgets things. So having a reference point or a Google Doc sheet or something with all your different characters, et cetera, so forth is critical. And another thing I learned about AI is that, it can get pricey too. So when it comes to the audio podcasts and the audio episodes, we used 11 Labs and used their special pro feature that allows you to use voices that are uploaded by people who are looking to get into voice acting. So we made sure that we did this for a reason, because I know people are going to be like, oh, well, he didn't even use voice actors in his audiobook. He generated all this with AI. And it's like, yeah, I did. But with this particular feature, the way that it works is that you can actually upload your voice to 11 Labs, and then another person can come and use that voice in any way they choose, commercials, audiobooks, podcasts, and that person gets paid for it. So these are people who are willingly uploading their voices to the software for me to use. I'm not stealing it. I'm not taking money out of people's pockets. In fact, I'm putting money into a bunch of people, because we have a lot of different voice actors on this project. So it's a really cool feature that allows me to continue to support creatives while also using AI and get these audiobooks out, because otherwise I have to do 25, 30 voices by myself. And I don't have that many voices. Do I have that many voices? I don't think I have that many voices. Do I have that many? No, I don't. I simply don't. No, those are all like the same voices, basically. I don't have that talent set. I'm featured on there. I have a voice in there as well, but I'm not the main character. But make sure you check it out. The whole point of this comes down to the fact that I believe that anybody is capable of telling a story. It's really all about just finding that vessel and finding the best way to do it. And I think about the little boy in 4th grade that was writing stories about all his friends and how much I enjoyed doing that and how happy it made me to tell these stories. Just to pretend I'm a superhero or pretend I'm a ninja or whatever the hell I was writing about as a kid. I wanted to tap into that because a little bit of that got lost in my artistic journey because, I got focused on the business and the bureaucracy and the politics and the money, et cetera, so forth. And as you get further and further away from that, a little bit of that inner boy gets shriveled up, and I wanted him to get rejuvenated. So the Parallaxers is kind of a big thing for me because this is going to probably be one of the most ambitious things that I do at this point in my life. I still have a couple of movies that I'm working on right now. I'm still working on my next album right now. I'm still working on a bunch of other stuff. But with the Parallaxers, my vision for this is huge. I'm talking cinematic universe, maybe, I don't know, but it really depends on how you guys receive it and how you guys take it. So if you could do me a favor and go check out the Parallaxers in the format that works best for you. The first episode is out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or you can go check out our YouTube page. I'll put the links below. And we have the first 3 episodes available there. If you're going to check those out, please subscribe and like because it's a brand new page. We're starting from scratch on all this. And if you want to get the ebook, you can go on Amazon and check it out there. It's available. The audiobook will be available soon too. And they all actually come in different capacities and formats. So if you get the ebook, you'll get the whole story that is written up to this point, volume 1 and 2. And from there, there's also an epilogue on there. And the epilogue's got some juicy stuff in there. I know I mentioned that earlier, but there's some juicy stuff in the epilogue that will be useful later on down the line when I start to roll out more stuff related to the Parallax. And then if you get the audiobook, it's just volume 1, but it's a good volume, all the voices ready to go, so you don't have to wait for the episodes to drop on YouTube or Spotify. If you don't want to buy my stuff, that's fine. You can go wait a week and get the episodes on YouTube or Spotify. So that's perfectly fine. So with all that said, I've been talking a lot here, and actually my camera died like halfway through. So I probably missed a couple things, and that's fine. We can always make another video, but I just really wanted to talk about this because it means a lot to me. And I really hope that it resonates with you guys as much as it resonates with me. I hope that we can do something brand new here and creative and continue to tell stories in a way that's fun and awesome. So do me a favor, check out the Parallaxers. If you have any questions or concerns, you can actually reach out to me. We have a brand new email too, theparallaxers@gmail.com. You can give me feedback and tell me how much you love it. Tell me how much it sucks. Tell me your favorite character, etc., so forth. And if you did get a chance to read it or experience it in some way, shape, or form, please let me know because I'm trying to really reach out to you guys. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and end this video with a look at the trailer for the Parallaxers so you can kind of get a vibe of what you can expect from that. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, but otherwise I will see you guys soon. Peace.
They say reality cracked for exactly 4 minutes and 13 seconds. A moment when shadows moved like liquid and light bent in ways it shouldn't. When it was over, 80,000 people had changed. The government calls them spatial manipulation anomalies. The media calls them powered individuals. They call themselves parallaxers. I document their stories, not because I want to, but because they demand to be told. The shadows whisper them to me. The spaces between moments reveal them. And reality itself seems to be using my words as a blueprint for something larger. These are their stories, or maybe they're warnings, or maybe they're prophecies of what's still to come. These are the Parallaxers.